In this episode, I wanted to talk about what it means to taste coffee. Sounds like a big whole philosophical thing. It's really quite simple. Of course, it can get complex the further you go down any kind of trade or craft or whatnot. But really, it's not that hard to simply taste coffee and be open to new flavors of coffee. And their nuances, really. I'm going to teach you, or tell you rather, a 3-step system for tasting coffee. Super simple. 1 is initial reactions. 2, kind of reverse engineering comparative step. And 3 is the after effects. Here's the background here. I was at a market recently and had our typical kind of A/B testing. We've got 2 different coffees. We really love showing people how different they can be. And a gentleman came up to me. He's like, I just want some coffee. I was like, okay, great. Well, I've got 2 awesome options for you. First one is from Uganda. It's, got some nutty, roasty, toasty, chocolatey notes, really unique for an African bean to be like this. You'd think it's more like Costa Rican. And compare that to our Ethiopian natural process, which is super unique. It's a little fruity, a little berry full, all that kind of stuff. And he kind of looks at me all cross-eyed and like, I just want regular coffee. So it sounds like you don't have that. And I was like, wait. No, we do actually. Those are just 2 of our regular coffees. I think in general, we're afraid of this concept of tasting coffee. Like it's too big of a thing. We see all these sommeliers in wine, and beer is also increasingly becoming more complex. We want to break down those barriers. We don't want to create some kind of highfalutin thing, because ultimately this ubiquitous beverage is experienced by so many people. If we make it too complicated for somebody who drinks it every day, well, then they're not going to buy coffee. What does all this mean? Well, first one, as I said, is the initial reactions. This is anything, totally, completely put out any thought in your mind. So I'm going to demonstrate this with this cup of coffee here. I'm not going to tell you what origin it is. In fact, it doesn't matter. And in fact, mystery is even better, because then you have no preconceived notions. You're not tasting some new African bean, some new Kenyan, and assume that it's gonna be, plum flavored. Nothing. Here it is, cup of coffee. It's brown, it's black. What does it look like? It's a little murky, it's just a little thicker. It's not quite as thin, although I have an opaque kind of non-translucent mug. So that might add to that. I can't get a lot of sun in there, all that kind of stuff. There's a very light sweetness to it, okay? A little bit of like caramel. Okay, fine. It's strong. That's not a bad thing to say. Strong is not a bad thing to say. What it means can vary. Okay, initial reactions. I said bold. I said it's pretty dark in the cup. And I said there's some sweetness to it a little bit, maybe some caramel. So now we're reverse engineering, okay? Where does that sweetness come from? Well, I didn't say fruit. I didn't say any kind of candy. I didn't say I suppose caramel is sugar, but it's that kind of deep, thick, brown type of sweetness, right? Fudge, marzipan. Already here, I've reverse engineered an answer so I can start saying words. Where does it sit on your tongue when it goes in your mouth? Here I'm actually kind of tasting it across the entire palate. That means it's probably well balanced, right? It has some sweet, it has some tart, it has some rooted tones to it. This one feels pretty well balanced. If you want to be really fancy, you can kind of do one of these. I'm gonna say caramel. I'm gonna tell the people I'm around, I'm gonna say to myself like, hey, this is pretty caramely. It means it's got like a nice kind of deeper tone to it with still a slight sweetness to it. It's complex. Maybe there's some nuts to it. What kind of nuts? Maybe hazelnut. It's not a peanut. It's not dry like a peanut. I've now got a fairly complex understanding of the actual tasting experience of the coffee. Now, why is this important? Well, when I might pair this with something, who I might offer it to if I've got people over and want to share some coffee. what kind of mood I'm in the morning, and do I want something with a big kick and complexity to like really get me going in the morning, or I'm feeling something more smooth and sweet and very feathery. The third thing we didn't talk about yet is the after effects. How does it play on your tongue and in your mouth after it's swallowed and you're going about the rest of your day? This one, it actually occupies a lot of those same places in the mouth as it does when it's actually in my mouth and pre-swallow. I hate saying this because my friends make fun of me all the time, but there's some sense of stroopwafel. Reiterates my caramel note earlier. Stroopwafel is one of those Belgian kind of like thick, super creamy caramel, has like some kind of crystallized like coat to it. When I'm finding coffees for folks, I gravitate toward a lot of these kind of coffees. So again, what are our three things? Initial reactions, reverse engineering and comparison, and then lasting effects. Super simple. When you break it down into those three aspects, that's a way for you to ground yourself in an understanding of that coffee that will help you engage with it, as well as engage with the people around you who you might be entertaining or drinking that coffee with.